A jury of Coloradans is now deliberating whether to hit My Pillow guy Mike Lindell for tens of millions of dollars in damages over his election rigging claims. And he's now adding to his claims of treason against America.
This guy right here, Kyle, he's a traitor in my mind because he suppresses the voice for us to get out. There we go, they're coming for you, Kyle, already.
We're tracking the potential for tornadoes tonight, putting a classroom on wheels to bring it to underserved communities in the high country. And I can't wait to show you the inclusive playground you're helping to build. Your generosity, turbocharge a school project, tonight on Next. The weather is weathering on us this evening, especially out in northeast Colorado, where severe thunderstorms could bring strong winds and large hail. Tornado warning has now been lifted for Adams County, where they had a land spout near Lochbuie today. Corey Reppenhagen, I'm not sticking around on the porch to figure out if that's a land spout or if that's real dangerous. I'm just going to the underground.
Yeah, a tornado is a tornado. We call them land spouts just because they form a little differently than a supercell tornado. Instead of the thunderstorm rotating, the rotating air is already on the bottom of the ground. The thunderstorm just sucks them up, and that's what we got. Land spout tornado out in Lochbuie. Sarah Nelson had a good view of this one. It's kind of a beefy looking one at the bottom. I'd say about 100 yards wide. We're looking at wind speeds in the 65 to 80 mile per hour range. Could possibly be some damage. I haven't seen any reports coming in of damage just yet, but we may hear of something. It was in a fairly populated area. We have a severe thunderstorm watch through the night all the way until 10 o'clock. So we'll have some action on the eastern plains as these storms move to the northeast corner. We're probably going to have to run that ticker, that banner on the bottom of the screen, the severe weather, a few times as we go through tonight. Here's where that storm kind of just popped up right there in Lochbuie, north of Denver International Airport. And that is what the energy is kind of moving out to the northeast plains. But here in the Denver metro area, we're going to have pretty low impact from these storms over the next 5 days. We will see them over the weekend for a couple hours in the afternoon, but for the most part, we're talking about a lot of sunshine and a lot of heat across the Front Range. Could see our first 90-degree day officially here in Denver tomorrow, and that 90s carry all the way through Monday. Another little storm system probably going to carry some widespread rain and thunderstorm threat to the Front Range on Tuesday, and then we're back into the high heat next weekend, Kyle.
The Coloradan suing My Pillow guy Mike Lindell for defamation is asking a federal jury to send a message with $40 million in punitive damages. Happens to be the same amount that Lindell says he has spent pursuing and publicizing his election rigging claims. That jury will be back Monday to continue deliberating the case brought by former Dominion Voting Systems executive Eric Coomer. Our Marshall Zellinger examines both sides' closing arguments.
After 2 weeks of testimony, the federal jury of 8 has the case and will decide if My Pillow guy Mike Lindell defamed former Dominion Voting System executive Eric Coomer. In closing arguments this afternoon, Coomer's attorney Charlie Kane said when Lindell accused Coomer of high crimes, that was defamatory. Quote, insulting someone is generally not actionable. It's when Mike Lindell stated that Dr. Coomer committed treason and that he was a traitor to the United States of America and that he had evidence. Regarding comments made about Coomer and election rigging at Lindell's 2021 Cyber Symposium that pushed unproven election fraud claims, Kane said the damage that was caused at the symposium wasn't just to Dr. Coomer, it was to others. It was to the entire country. When it was Lindell's side to close with the jury, attorney Jennifer DeMaster said, quote, the only thing that matters in this case is whether the defendant, Mr. Lindell, believed what he was saying was true. Mr. Lindell unequivocally believes what he said. DeMaster said the case is about government elites trying to hide the truth about elections. Quote, this is the government, the club, the Ministry of Truth when it comes to elections, and they will tell you what you're allowed to say. Us peasants are garbage to them. Coomer's attorney got the last word with the jury. He said, the government is not a party to this case. The Ministry of Truth, whatever that is not a party to this case. If there's a club, I'm not in it.
The jury will be back at 7 a.m. Monday. Kyle, Coomer is seeking about $2.7 million in economic damages, $20 million in non-economic, like I can't really prove to you what I've lost, but here I'm going to try, and $40 million in punitive, which is to send a message to anybody else who might risk a defamation case.
So now the jury If there's just one holdout, then there will not be a defamation judgment. But if they agree that he's liable for defamation, I mean, they could come and just give Eric Coomer $1.
Right, and the judge says that. Like, if you find that, yes, this person is liable, but you think the damages are, like, negligent, you at least have to do $1. They could also come with a ridiculous number higher than what's being requested. I think what the Coomer team is trying to do is, like, we're putting a true number on some of these and a really high number to, again, send a message to other people that if you find them liable, you just can't say whatever you want to say.
They said they want to send a message to election workers that they're safe continuing to do the job, is what they said. All right, Marshall Zellinger, thank you. Once that jury began deliberating, I asked Lindell outside court if he was satisfied with his team's defense strategy to not put up evidence of his election rigging claims, but instead to argue to the jury that all that matters is if Mike Lindell thought he was telling the truth. Were you satisfied with your defense? What did you think of how they did?
I think they did great. I think her ending arguments was absolutely amazing.
The final witness against Lindell was nationally recognized election cybersecurity expert Dr. Alex Halderman. He said there are real issues with electronic voting machines, but he said Lindell's claims are, quote, crazy town. He said that the theories that you promote are so far-fetched and have so little evidence that it hinders a discussion about the real vulnerabilities with the system. When you hear that, what do you think?
No. What he said, Kyle, was when I reached out to him twice or more than that, he never reached out to me or never reached out to me to look at my stuff. He's never seen it.
Part of Lindell's defense is that calling a voting machine company executive a treasonous criminal wasn't a big deal, because Lindell calls lots of people traitors. You're getting sued for calling somebody a traitor, and you're calling more people traitors out here. Clearly, like, it's not changing your approach, your conviction. Like, that's not.
No,
you're not going to
if
stop
you're
it.
suppressing free speech and you're suppressing, you're a traitor. Why would you do that to our country? We need to secure our elections. There's a reason you're doing it, and I said it on my show. In this concerning our elections to secure our elections, if you're against trying to get them secure, if you're trying to suppress my voice, that's why I'm calling you a traitor. Because right now we either need heroes or traitors. There's no in between. You, Kyle, should be on board with getting to the truth instead of figuring out how you're going to bash me here with the quote you'd say. I can see the quote now. Mike didn't learn a thing. He still calls people traitors. No, that's you being a traitor. By you doing that on your show tonight, you will be a traitor.
If Mike Lindell is hit with a big judgment, it's not clear if he'll be able to pay it. He claims to be broke. Today, the opposing attorney's closing message to the jurors was, quote, if Mike Lindell ends up bankrupting himself because of his own conduct, so be it. A federal appeals court is allowing President Donald Trump to remain in control of California's National Guard for now. California is suing to overturn the president's order deploying troops against immigration protesters. Colorado's closely watching, with Democratic leaders here worried that it could happen in our state. The appeals court stepped in late last night, blocking an order from a lower court that ruled that Trump's deployment of 2,000 National Guard troops was unconstitutional. The appeals court didn't explain the decision, said they'll hear California's arguments about this on Tuesday. Colorado's Democratic AG has signed on to a brief in support of California, concerned that Trump's California order is actually worded in a way that it could be used to deploy the National Guard in any state in the next 2 months. We expect anti-Trump protests in Denver tomorrow and in smaller towns and cities across the state. Dozens of those protests in Colorado actually is part of No King's Day, a nationwide protest movement organized by a group called the 5051 Movement. That group says they're dedicated to fighting, quote, executive overreach by the Trump administration. Protests organized by that group have been largely peaceful in the past. Mayor Mike Johnson says Denver police are going to arrest anybody who gets involved with violence or property damage. And he has said on this program that violence will just invite action from the Trump administration in Colorado. In a statement today, Denver police told protesters preemptively that the department does not call on ICE or any other federal enforcement to support their protest response, like they're not supposed to be out there tomorrow. DPD went so far as to tell protesters they may see officers in unmarked vehicles or DPD officers in uniforms of various colors, and they didn't want people to confuse them for the feds. 5 years into your Word of Thanks micro-giving campaigns, your weekly generosity, $15 million worth, has reached into almost every corner of Colorado. But this week, it is our very first campaign specifically targeted at one relatively remote part of our state, San Miguel County and the west end of Montrose County. It's that open country on the western slope that goes from like Telluride area in Montrose out west to the Utah state line. This week's Word of Thanks microgiving campaign supports two nonprofits that are feeding Coloradans there on the Western Slope. A nonprofit called Angel Baskets has served low-income families in that area for more than 40 years. They have a food pantry, they have food programs for students before and after school, and they give grocery gift cards to seniors in need. Another nonprofit called Fresh Foundation runs the Fresh Food Hub in Norwood. They cover another area of that rural part of our state. They've got a food pantry of their own. They do meals for seniors and students, and they have a pantry plot program that grows food to fill their pantry. Both of these are relatively small nonprofits. That's why they're sharing a Word of Thanks microgiving campaign, but they both have established track records of helping their neighbors in that rural part of our state. This week's microgiving campaign is in collaboration with our ongoing 9 Cares Colorado Shares food drive, fighting hunger in our community. I'd invite you to scan the QR code on your screen or text the word THANKS to 303-871-1491. We'll send you that link to donate. Your 5 years of microgiving, $15 million, proves what $5 donations can do when they're collected together. More than 5,000 of you have signed up to become the backbone of this program by making a monthly donation to the Word of Thanks Fund. You put in your info once, and each month your automatic donation is split among all the nonprofits we feature, so you help everybody across our state. Our recent microgiving campaigns have started with more than $30,000 in those gifts. Congress wants to put a for sale sign on millions of acres of public land, including some in Colorado.
I think it's very magical, and I think that it serves a pretty important need.
A magic school bus, bringing school to the students instead of the other way around. And a community coming together to build a better playground. You played a huge role in this. That's next. So, I don't believe in that voodoo, but we did have a Friday the 13th earthquake north of Denver today. It's a relatively weak one. Folks still felt it, though. Daryl Johnson's farm near Dacono was the epicenter of a shallow 2.9 magnitude earthquake shortly after 6 this morning. The U.S. Geological Survey says people as far south as Thornton might have felt some light shaking. People in Erie, Brighton, and Broomfield, they reported, they felt it for sure. Earthquakes under a 3 on the Richter scale are considered to be minor and unlikely to cause damage. The latest draft of the Republican budget bill before Congress could put some of Colorado's public lands up for sale. The bill would require the Bureau of Land Management and the Forest Service to sell off up to 3 million acres of public land. That could lead to sales in 11 western states, including Colorado. Republicans in Congress say that the states and local governments could get a say in what's sold, and there would be exemptions for national parks, national monuments, wilderness areas, or land that has existing leases for things like mining and drilling. The budget summary says selling off this public land should help solve the housing crisis, though there are no requirements that affordable housing be built on that public land, as the Trump administration has suggested. Every parent knows that rush to get kids to school in the morning. A program in Eagle County is kind of turning the rush on its head. It's called the Magic Bus, and it brings school to kids in underserved communities. Our Angeline McCall went along for the ride.
The routine might be the same every day,
Te hago un pan tostado, ¿cómo quieres el pan tostado?
but these moments set a strong foundation.
Come.
Nancy Chavez is getting her daughter Samira ready for preschool.
She likes it and she enjoys it. And she doesn't get bored, which is good.
All this to get Samira
Green is verde, green
to
is
the classroom. This song she knows because of Miss Maria.
Where we are, we're in the Magic Bus.
The Magic Bus is a preschool on wheels.
The joy, the learning, the excitement, that's exactly what we bring to the bus, the magic in it.
When the bus stops, school starts. Today it's for 2 hours in Gypsum. It visits neighborhoods where families may otherwise struggle to get their kids to school because of finances or transportation.
If we didn't have the Magic Bus, it would have been harder for me to take her to school. I think it would be harder for her because for this time it's just very flexible.
We just can kind of symbolize that, hey, we're here for you, and we'll get to where you are, and we'll meet you where you are.
Amy Chato runs the Vail Valley Foundation's Youth Power 365 team, and this program, meant to be the first step to build a base for their education.
I think it's very magical, and I think that it serves a pretty important need.
Hi.
If it weren't for the bilingual program,
They just said it.
Samira wouldn't be here.
It is. That's the reason I decided to go there as well.
And it's a little piece of my heart that I can give back to both ends, whether you speak English or Spanish.
We speak Spanish, that's our first language, and I just want them to keep growing with the language.
¿Y dice Julián?
If it were up to the kids, the time on the magic bus wouldn't end. This untraditional classroom
I thought it was fun.
sets them up
¿Lo puedes hacer?
for others they'll have down the road.
Ya me dieron por mí.
They don't know it now, but this is their first school and probably the only one they'll have on wheels.
Mami.
¿Cómo te fue, Sammy?
For next, I'm Angela McCall.
Gracias.
A playground in Golden is getting an upgrade to create a space where everyone can play.
Everybody came together to help with our community build for our playground.
You all chipped in big time to make this playground happen. So what a great place to go in search of our community's good news to close out the week. We'll do it next. When kids and parents in Golden are looking for a place to play, they no longer have to worry about whether physical disabilities might keep them apart from their friends and family. Because today, volunteers at Shelton Elementary work to install an inclusive playground, accessible for anyone. Your Word of Thanks microgiving chipped in more than $70,000 for that community project. We stopped by Installation Day to ask our favorite Friday question. What's your good news?
There is pizza!
My good news is that we are putting in a playground at Shelton Elementary with the help of many Coloradans and all of the community, and I'm very optimistic.
I just burped. What? You do it. You do it. We're twins.
My good news is that we're building a new playground that's going to help our neighborhood for as long as the old one did, but in a much better way.
My good news is that this playground will be done soon, and I enjoy thinking about the kids next year and how much they'll love it. We're at the playground, and while the grown-ups work, we're selling the snacks. But for some reason, they're free. Me and Hazel will be turning 10 on Monday.
My good news is in the baseball season this year, my season, we're the #1 seed team. So yesterday, all the other teams had a game, but since we were #1, we had a bye week.
Why did you birth again? It feels good that everyone's inclusive. I'm staying here for another 3 years since my dad's work moved here, so I can play on this playground. Are you gonna interview me?
That's good stuff. That's just good. Back to the feedback next. Feedback tonight. Viewer writes, thank you for using the Richter scale in reference to the earthquake. He says, most people can't pronounce our name anymore because it's not taught in school. Signed, Dave Richter. Tell me feedback that I never thought that I would get. That's it right there. I never imagined getting that feedback, but made me think twice. All right, Carol Ann says of my conversation with Mike Lindell as the jury deliberates his fate in the defamation case, as always, Kyle, you were respectful, polite, and asked great questions. I appreciate that, Carol. I mean, every person being interviewed, no matter who they are, deserves direct, polite questions, because more so than that, you deserve direct answers.